Okay, so day off, sort of went out tonight. Bought myself a Cycloneshock. Okay, I'm driving down Ventura Boulevard, California, and let's see. After doing that one review, a few other notes. Number one, nothing on this blaster seems to suck. I haven't taken it apart yet. There are a few very good observations I have. Number one is that when you pull the blaster back, it has more travel, unlike a strong arm or maybe a hammer shot. Now, I'm thinking this might be accounting for something that may be very important for modding. Okay? As we all know, if you take apart a hammer shot or a strong arm, if you make that barrel too loose, too tight, too anything, too loose, you're going to lose air. Too tight, your cylinder's not going to turn. And that's always been my hang-up with revolver-type Nerf blasters. Always. From Maverick on down, I just hate them. And the reason is because you can't make that seal tighter. And of course, once you get past, let's say, 25 PSI, yeah, you can't get around it. You have to have a good seal. There's no way around it. Otherwise, you're just blowing on the dot, you know? So check this out. I'm going to put my thumb to this and pull this back. And press down. Oh, wait. I'm going to press down now. Look at that, man. And I really press down. And if you pull this back hard enough, no matter what, it's going to turn the cylinder. Because there's a point where it stops, where the cylinder isn't. Unlike the strong arm or the hammer shot, where if you have too much obstruction of force on either of those blasters, the mechanism says, "Oh fuck it, I'm just going to go to the default ratchet that keeps it from breaking." The Cycloneshock doesn't do that. It will turn it no matter how much force you put on it, and it doesn't have a safety on it that gives up and just doesn't turn the cylinder. That's nice. That's nice. Now, why do I bring this up? First off, look at this. I've got a good 50 cc's of air, maybe more. As you know, the first Bird of Prey Type L prototype was only 55 cc's, and it was able to clear 170 flat. The current one is 66 cc's, and if properly configured, although I don't recommend it because the dart's really wild and everything slams into each other really hard, you can clear 200 with an average group of maybe 180s, 190s. It does happen. Personally, keep it at 180s. Actually, that's your best. Just keep it as a 60-yard Nerf gun. Trust me, the other 20 feet, once in a while, is just gravy. But in here, those both have long barrels. Okay, the Scarra Magna Fire Strike that I took to Armageddon has 6-inch barrel. When I upgraded that to a Type M Bird of Prey with a Star Shot, I got a 7-inch barrel. And instead of doing in the 150s, 160s flat, it did 160, 170. My point being is you have to have enough length of your barrel to make use of that air at high yield. And unless you're doing high yield, you're not going to knock the socks off your Nick friends. It's just not going to happen. Now, it may not be impossible to do, but I've done it. I've made them real quiet and say, yeah, it's good, but just sort of the quieter they are, go to a Nerf meet, the better you dig. But here's the problem. That's 4 inches. 4 inches per chamber. My calculations say you need at least 6 to make best use of the air in this blaster at 23 kilograms. Can it do 23 kilograms? It might, and I'll tell you why. Because the pictures I see, it's all that white durable plastic in there. And it isn't a slammer. Everybody thought this was a slammer. The one I've got is not slammer. So that's no big deal. That's good because there's a reason you don't mod like your Rampage or your Alpha Troopers with 14K, and that's because the slam mode can't handle that much yield. It will automatically fire every time you pump it. Or even worse, you'll bend that wire and it will jam. So, that variable's out of the way. It's a nice solid system. Now all I gotta figure out how to do is to take this part off and hold it in. Very tricky because that center thing is holding the whole cylinder in. So how do you make it so that the cylinder is concentric so that the seal stays, but at the same time, it has enough force on it, but at the same time still operates. The idea is to make this sucker look like a fucking minigun, just 6 barrels in front. Get rid of this front part entirely. Completely sawzall it. Get rid of this front right here. Keep this bottom grip part right here. That's what I'm looking at right now. Now, I haven't finalized the mod. Even the Sharpfire, which I've already modded, and it's doing about 160, 170 feet per second, that's not finally modded. That's a first day mod. That's just me. I came home and decided, okay. And you may even notice, even the chamber brass is not quite trimmed. But it worked, so I kept it. And I used that little extra part and bent it in a little so it would hold in the dot better, so it wouldn't fall out. And it would also give it a little bit of a beginning pressure. Now, let's get to the Sharpfire, shall we? The Sharpfire, out of the box, I think is suffering from 2 very, 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 very troubling problems. And I noticed it today. It's not just that 3/16 air hole in the bolt, which is right after the hold-in part in the bolt. That hold-in part where it's the smallest, where the air restrictor fingers are. The whole thing not only fits without resistance a piece of 17/32, but it fits without resistance a piece of 17/32, and you can still blow air through it. That's right. There's still space around it. You might even be able, if you pull out a hammer, to hammer some 9/16 into it. It's that wide. I have not seen a breach that wide on the outside since the Firefly and the Reflex. The Reflex blasters, the IX-1. Those have real wide secondary counter seats. Because of this, I think that the dart doesn't have as much power after it leaves the air restrictors that it should, and it doesn't make best use of the air. It also doesn't put pressure back on the air restrictor like a retaliator does. Okay, your dart leaves the air restrictor part, but because there's air pressure being built from that part to this part, where the air restrictors leave, the air restrictors still get pushed back a little. And that's why on a 5 kilogram Orange ModWorks spring on a retaliator, you're actually better off keeping the air restrictor in, because you're building up that pressure. And then right after the pressure's gone, the dart's gone, and you're fine. At a point where you hit about 7 kilograms is where you want to take the AR out for sure, because it doesn't benefit you. That effect doesn't benefit you anymore. But I do know that back pressure of the dart still being in there affects the AR's travel, because it's only a very, very light little wire spring that's pulling the AR forward. Especially true with the Triad, which I brassed out, and especially true with the Messenger, which is why the two can still do that. You gotta remember, air that's already in the barrel is still pushing back on the AR. And it's only when the dot leaves is it completely closed. Is it an obstruction, a little bit of resistance? Yes. But it makes it so the AR works, and it makes it so you can put 4-inch barrels on a Messenger, or more if you up the yield. The same thing's true with the Sharpfire. That's complicated explanation, folks, I know. But the same's true with the Sharpfire. If you can blow a piece of 17/32 while it's in there, you better believe, which is far bigger than 512. It's 532, I believe, 0.532 in outer diameter. That's far bigger than a dot that's 5.10 in diameter. And you better believe that it's not holding pressure against that AR. So my thing is, take that AR out. And it's tough to take out because all you got are 3 little solid things in the back of the breech, and you gotta make sure that it's sanded perfectly flat when you're done. So when you're done prying it, molesting it, drilling it, whatever, you gotta file it. Otherwise, if you don't, every time that piston hits, it's gonna leave a mark until it breaks the piston. Okay? Even if you leave that padding in there, it's just a bad idea. So that's what I've noticed about the Sharpfire. Do I think the Sharpfire is getting a bad rap? Yes. Mine's amazing, guys. It's amazing. Sure, it cannot do better prey speed. Sure, it cannot do 822K, 3K, 4K speed. It's not meant to. It's a side-on. It has a nice carbine stock with a clever little holster, but I'd rather make my own, you know me. I am thinking, though, that clip on the side of the holster, can we put the clip on the side of the blaster by putting a longer screw? Thank you very much, Hasbro. And not only that, you're gonna, I like it. It makes it very moddable for 70 to 30 seconds. You only need one more round of tape and it's perfectly in there, with like packing tape. So it makes making a breech loader easy. But come on, Hasbro, you really should make that thinner. The inner diameter of the Sharpfire's secondary countersink on the bolt is so wide, you could easily throw 9/16 Stephens in there. I mean, easily. I mean, without any effort pushing them in and out. It's too much. So anyway, I got some driving to do. I'm on Ventura and Laurel Canyon. I'm just taking the day off. I think I'm going to go to Bob the Big Boy, get some fooders. Remember, maybe a price of Retaliator or rack of ribs at 20 Romans or with seals. But it's solid, man. It's solid. Peace out.